Hey everybody, what's going on? I am going to be drawing some Chainsaw Man tonight. I'm going to be working on power. So basically what I'm doing now is I did a rough gestural ink drawing of her on a Denji there, and then I'm going over, I'm just kind of tightening up the line work, and I'll do some adjustments and whatnot, but yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just re-sharing some of the stuff on Twitter to tell people I'm live. But yeah, if you have any questions or whatever, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will answer as I go. And if I don't get to yours immediately, don't worry. I am just, focused on whatever I'm doing. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be just refining this and answering questions as they pop up. I didn't finish the first season, and I haven't read any of the manga, so please don't spoil everything. I appreciate it. Only like halfway through the first season of the show, but I heard so many good things about it that I was like, oh, maybe my wife and I, Kimmy, if she's in the chat, we could watch it. We finished Blue-Eyed Samurai, and that was amazing. And we were just like, yeah, let's watch some more. Not like Blue-Eyed Samurai is anime or anything. It's close, but it's more like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something like that than it is an anime. But anyway, yeah, we started getting into it, and we were like, oh, Chainsaw Man seems like a cool next thing to watch. I heard so much about it, but I didn't realize like how cool it was. It starts out, I'm not going to spoil nothing, but like I like the way that it starts out, that it starts kind of how I expect the anime to go, but then it does a lot of really great stuff. It's like as it moves along, I felt like it has an awesome pace. It's a great lesson in storytelling too. Not like it's the first anime to do this, but I really love how it's more about style and just confidence. Like the show exudes confidence in just what it thinks is cool, and I really appreciate that. I'm sure the comic does as well, but I really like the approach. I loved all the end credits. The whole design of those is really amazing. It gave me some like Persona vibes, at least like Persona 5. Not like one for one, but just the kind of feeling of it in the group. I like the like strong, confident style of the whole thing, and that's why I decided to do this, because I was like, oh, I'll do like a Persona 5 inked version of Chainsaw Man, because I feel like they go together really well. Yeah, the music's great in that show. I'm gonna wait until I finish the first season, and then I'll probably read the manga. I'm not crazy about the integration of 3D in it. I think it's fine. Some of the stuff is better than others. But generally it does a good job integrating that stuff. It doesn't feel too clunky. It feels more like I like 3D when they can make it feel like a stylistic move and not a budget move, like it's there to complement it. Who's my favorite character so far? I mean, Denji's my favorite character so far. He's got a similar vibe, not the same exact thing, but similar to like old school like Dragon Ball. Like how Goku's kind of just like happy to be involved in whatever he's doing. I like that vibe. It's cool. It's a different version of that type of thing, but yeah. Yeah, I was actually gonna tell Kim, I was like, maybe you should not be in the chat for this one because I don't want people spoiling. I mean, I really wouldn't want the story to be spoiled for anybody. So if you haven't seen Chainsaw Man, I'd recommend it. It's cool. It's not exactly what you think it's gonna be, which is good. I don't know if you've already been asked this, but what was the drawing that took you the longest to make, and how long was it? Let me think about it. I mean, if we're talking like in general, it's all the stuff that I did when I first started really doing art, because I was so slow, you know? But it's not for like it's not because the thing itself was so awesome or complicated. It was just I wasn't good at what I was doing. So that's probably not exactly what you're asking me, but if I'm saying like the literal answer for that's what it is for sure. The one that was probably, you know, in the, say like the past decade or something like that, was probably honestly that Lord of the Rings one I did for Magic the Gathering, that one kind of took a long time. I don't remember exactly how long it took me, but it was long enough where it was kind of like I got to a point where I was like, come on now. What are we doing? How long can I do this one thing? Holy shit. I mean, it is 9 Magic the Gathering cards all combined, but it still felt like it took me way too long to draw it. Because like honestly, once I get the drawing done, like the painting doesn't take that long. Theo was saying it's interesting because a lot of the initial story beats people kind of write off, but it's deeper, more well written than the initial impressions. Well, I'm not going to spoil nothing, but it does the thing that I it's not like I'm not knocking it for this, but it does like the really quick, easy setup thing that a lot of shows do that are anime, where it just kind of is like, here's like a sad backstory, now you care, let's move on. Like not like it's throwaway, but it's easy. It's sort of like, you know, it's just like a simple kind of thing. It's not in depth. They can tell the backstory in like 2 seconds, and then it moves on, which is not like, again, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that like it's effective, but it's something I've seen a bunch, which is what kind of made me think going into it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I kind of know what I'm gonna watch. But then it does, you know, other things which are really good. So that's what I was saying about, you know, like initially I thought it was going to be this. And yeah, I was like, that's cool. Do you watch anime like this with Kim or alone? Yeah, we were watching it together. I mean, I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Kim is more forgiving for like anime and things like that than I am. Like she can get into, like, what did Kim watch? Like Angel Beats or something like that? I can't remember what it was. Like she can watch some of that stuff that I'm like, I could never do that, you know? I'm not sure if that's what you watched, Kim, but I feel like she has maybe more patience than I do for a lot of anime. Like I'm more of like a Vampire Hunter D kind of person. Like I like just like I read those books when I was a kid, the actual like novels, and then I was super excited when the Bloodlust movie came out. And like, you know, the old school stuff like Ninja Scroll and all that. A lot of the Madhouse movies, I really liked a lot of that. So some of the more like high school oriented shows and whatever were never really my thing so much, but I feel like it swayed, where like the thing that I used to have with anime was I always used to think like, if only somebody could tell like a really good story that wasn't just lots of like, you know, like then it would be so good because the aesthetic is so great. But they've been doing that, you know. It's like in the past, I mean, really, it's like the past like 15 years or so, or 20 years. Anime has really stepped it up in terms of story. There were always like a handful of really good ones, but I feel like now there's so many. I mean, maybe that's just me being completely naive to the medium, you know, just not being exposed to enough. But that's how it felt as somebody who like would try to get into it from time to time and then be like, I don't get it. Felt like it was only for like one niche audience. But I feel like the stories are really good in a lot of things. Like even the stuff like My Hero Academia has like a bunch of, you know, like really good pacing, really good cliffhanger things and nice character balancing and all that. And I was like, it's very well done. It can make fun of itself. It can be sincere at the same time. Like they hit, like that show kind of hits the balance that I wish Marvel had hit, where they do both. They can like be silly, but also like deadly serious. But in their deadly seriousness, my hero never like winks at the camera like, hey, we're actually still joking right now, which is my problem. And I think like everybody's problem with Marvel is they never let something be serious or sad or whatever for long enough for it to not feel like a wink nod joke. A lot of what I'm doing right now isn't necessarily like my final lines or anything. It's just more of like information. A lot of times when I draw this stuff and I start to like work out the shapes and all and render things a bit, like in this, not render things a bit, but actually like flesh out the design. Like whenever I'm in this phase, like I don't really care too much about it being super accurate. A lot of that's gonna happen when I do my final inks. I can get way more expressive with my inks than I can this like penciling stage. So I don't really care if this is a perfect drawing or anything. I'm just trying to make sure that the framework is there so I have something to look at when I'm inking, because I like to just kind of not think while I'm inking. Like I don't want to have to look at a reference the whole time. I feel like it slows me down way too much for how expressive you can be with inks. You know, digital inks, of course, but same kind of feeling. I meant, Dave, you mentioned psilocybin a couple of streams ago. What was the dose? I think it was like between 2.5 and like close to 3 grams. I mean, great for my mental health. I can't believe how many of my tics are gone. Like, stop pulling out my hair. I stopped being a maniac for the most part. Lost weight. It's so wild. I feel like I've been telling everybody about it, like my whole family. I'm like, hey, everybody. It works. How do you decide what to draw next? I have a few things that I always have kind of floating in the background that I would do. I'm actually going to be doing the Steve Lichman comics in just a couple days, so that'll be nice. That'll be cool to get back into. And then I always have like a handful of things that I want to do. Like one of the things that I want to do is, I didn't do it for this stream just because I saw the reaction of people when I said that I would be working on Chainsaw Man. So there, I said Chainsaw Man or a Batman comic. And then it seemed overwhelmingly positive for Chainsaw Man. So I was like, okay, I'll just do Chainsaw Man. That's how I decided that, because I want to do both, you know. But my Batman comic is not a Garfield comic. I wish it was. My Batman comic is just a one-off thing that I had an idea for. And I was thinking of doing it like in this style, sort of. With like a semi-more realistic, like, looking style with the same kind of inks. But sort of like anime noirish looking. And I wanted to do a Batman comic where he's transforming into a big old bat and looking like a nightmare. But he's like a victim to it, sort of, you know, just Dr. Jekyll idea. I thought it would be fun to do a comic where Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, is really struggling to make a difference in Gotham, but he's totally failing. So his alter ego's like, you're an idiot, let me do it. You know, and turns into a big giant monster bat and goes and kills people at night, and he has to fight it and try and stop that from happening. So I'm doing like a one-off little comic for no reason other than to just do it. I'm assuming somebody's done that idea, but I don't care. I'm not gonna go look at it. I've never seen it before, so I'm not gonna go looking. I could do the same sort of thing with Steve. It's like when Dan and I like write comics together, my buddy Dan Warren and I do Steve Lichman. And like if we come up with a joke that's funny, like I don't go looking like who else did this joke, because they just don't care. It's like even if it's the same exact joke or pretty close to the same premise, I know that we came to it organically, so I don't mind. It's like whatever. It won't be the exact thing because it's coming from our heads. Yeah, I felt like the Batman thing would be fun to do. I feel like it was a cool idea. It was just something that I was thinking about, and I did like a 3-page write-up for it, just like literally like 3 comic pages, and then I was just gonna call it and have that be the only thing I do for it. I thought that'd be fun. Yeah, I generally don't care. It's like if you know that you didn't go out and try to take anybody's idea, but you still come to the same conclusion or whatever, it's like just do whatever your version was. It's not going to be the same exact thing. Yeah, I tell people that who are worried about copying somebody's style. That's something I hear like all the time. People are like, you know, I'm worried that if I mimic so-and-so artist that I'm gonna end up copying them and not doing my own thing, and I don't want to look like a thief or just a duplicate of somebody else. It doesn't matter. Like if people ask me that, they're like, should I, like I've been asked that in the stream. They're like, you know, is it a bad idea for me to like mimic your style? And I tell people, absolutely not. Like, copy whoever for a while and then learn all you can from that person or any number of people, and then change. You know, it's like, you're not going to stay that person. Like, there's a number of people who look like somebody else for the longest time, and then you just deviate from that without even realizing it. But there's so much to be gleaned from looking at other artists. Just ask AI. I've only been studying half an hour, maybe. Probably won't be drawing Baldur's Gate 3 stuff. I haven't played that game yet. I worked on some artwork for the game's release, but up until recently I haven't had any time, and I've been trying to finish up the games I already started. I finished Spider-Man 2 the other day. That game should just be called The Invincible MJ. I couldn't stop laughing during those parts. This is the wildest shit ever. Just go through with a gun and kill everybody in one shot. That was so funny. I was like, what is Spider-Man doing? Let me take on Venom. MJ would headshot him. And then I saw that like that was a controversial statement or something. I was like, for real? Like, that's the wildest shit. Those segments made me laugh out loud. Not because she's a woman, because I'm like one of the strongest Marvel characters in the whole world. And then like I'm getting outclassed by a reporter. That's so funny. Hey Dave, someone asked a few streams back and your really old gritty Photoshop brush. Not sure if it's the same one you used for all the speculars on your old Skeletor stuff, Red Ranger and Venom from 10 years ago. Anyway, would really appreciate if you could post it up. Been looking for ages, thanks. It's I can't remember exactly like the name of it or anything like that, but it's in my brush set that was part of my like orc tutorial. I used it when I painted the latest Gundam painting I did. Thanks, Riley. Have a good night, man. I'm a celebrated lycra of women. Yeah, I couldn't believe that was controversial. I was like, that's crazy. I was like, that'd be like if you played like if you were Superman in a video game and it took you like, you know, let's say it took you 30 seconds to beat each bad guy, and then you turned into a pizza delivery guy who would just happen to be driving by who Superman was fighting, and he just took out a gun and just killed everybody in one shot. Then why the fuck is Superman there? Who needs him? We got Brad from Domino's. Yeah, Batman absolutely shits his pants mid-fight. Batman's like, you ever see those bear fights where the bears are just going at it and screaming at each other and just shitting all over the place while they fight? That's Batman. was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, there is no hero that does that. It just shits all over the place while they fight, like bears do. Just exerting that much physical force that you like let go of your whole body. That should absolutely be a thing. I didn't read the Chainsaw Man manga. I only watched the first half of the season 1, but as soon as that's over, I'd be down to check out the manga and just start it from the beginning. But I don't want any spoilers. I don't know how many people in here like stand-up comedy. But Sam Talent's new special is really good. The Toad's Morale. Just watched that the other day. It's really good. He's from a few towns over from here in Colorado. I mean, yeah, it's on YouTube. It's great. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat now. Sorry, I wasn't looking. The hardest part of doing all of these is the faces, which I'm still gonna move things around. Very dumb question, but do you have any advice on drawing smooth curves with sharp changes in direction, not basic arcs, but the lines you'd use for spiky hair or jaw lines? I mean, it's basically just, I mean, for me, a lot of the inking kind of advice I could give is to try and do it traditionally first. Anything that I do digitally, I first did traditionally. Like, I spent a long time inking a lot, just sitting down at my drafting table and just inking with a brush. And that's pretty much what I use here, is that same approach. So honestly, the best like inking advice I can give is to do real inking and just, you know, commit to getting it wrong and just doing it over and over again, learning and learning and learning and looking at a lot of really good inkers and seeing how they do those things that you're asking me about, and then trying your best to replicate that and find your version of it. But there's so many different styles. The one that I'm doing right now is, you know, like if I do a sharp line on this, like you can see like that, it gives a weird magnetic kind of thing between the lines, which is cool in some respects. Like depending on what you're inking in Krita, you can get some nice results with this brush. But if you're doing like sharp edges, you kind of have to like go to one end and then pick up your brush and then continue from there. Because if you do one continuous stroke, you get that magnetic line. So there's so many cool things that you can do with this brush, but doing sharp edges and whatever, like that's not really one of them. That's one of the downsides of this brush. Do I have any classes? I don't have any classes necessarily, but on my Patreon I have like literal like I don't know, maybe 100 hours of tutorials for $5. So if that's something you're interested in, that's in the description below. It's just $5 a month. You could just do it for 1 month, watch all the videos, and then cancel if you only want to spend $5, or just continuously support. Up to you. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to offer very cheap learning alternative, and I'm still learning, you know, so it's nice to document all that in one spot, and that's pretty much what the Patreon is me trying to get better over the course of years and posting every step of that. So I don't have like a straight up class, but it's pretty much the same thing. You're on the Patreon already. Yeah, just dig through all the videos. I mean, I go through so many phases in what I like to do. So I try to kind of do walkthroughs of each one of those things. Like whenever I'm into something, I'll make a video about how I did it. And then after that, I just kind of post that up and move on to other things. So I try a bunch of different stuff. Is the streaming going to be kind of a regular thing, like once a week? Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it once a week for a long time. I do it this pretty much the same day unless something comes up, like, which is rare, but you know, if I'm sick or the kids are sick or something and I can't sleep or I have like a billion deadlines, then that's really the only time I won't stream. But generally speaking, I'm here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you can subscribe to the channel. The only thing I suck at is posting way ahead of time when the Thursday stream is, but I mean, it's always the same time. I'll be better about it. I just have to remember to post that scheduled stream immediately after finishing this one. Yeah, I get it. The algorithm does not favor irregularity. So if I don't stream, you know, every day or however much, then I don't get promoted too much. So it's hard to tell when I'm doing anything. But I have so much other shit going on that I can't make like streaming my profession. I'm just like doing a billion other things all the time. Is there a update on Steve Volume 3? Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, Dan and I had the whole thing, like, well, not the whole thing, but pretty much the majority of it written up. And we just needed to actually work on it, and I hadn't been able to because I was saving up for a house. But we're doing it now, and we're gonna be working on it on every Monday and hopefully every Tuesday for the foreseeable future, until I can block out just a huge chunk of time to hammer through it. I mean, if you see how fast I've put this together, and this is like a semi, not like detailed drawing, but detailed-ish, you know. I've only been working on this for less than an hour, and I've already made like significant progress. So when I get to doing Steve, I'm much faster than I ever was before. So I'm fairly confident that I'll be able to really hammer through that book. Because that book's, you know, fairly easy to draw. I'm excited to get back into it. And we never stopped writing, you know. We were writing Steve stuff for like 5 years, you know. Do I use the watercolor brush on Clip Studio Paint to refine the critter sketch? Yeah, just to get some basic like details down. I just like the feel of it. Pretty much everything I'm doing when I do that sort of thing is all based around how does the brush feel. If it feels good and it feels like I can draw with it, then I'm more inclined to include that as part of my process in a step or something. It doesn't mean that, you know, anybody has to do what I'm doing. Like, I'm weird, I'm particular on what I like, and that means that I hop between programs a lot because I like certain programs for certain things. Like, look how fast this Krita inking brush is. Like, it's so stupidly fast that, like, why would I ever use anything else? Like, it's so crazy how quickly you can ink with this brush. So there are certain programs that have these little things about them that are just very specific to however that brush engine works in that program or whatever else, and then I just don't want to deviate from it because it's so efficient. And there's a bunch of stuff in like Clip Studio that's comic related that you just don't get with other programs. So even if Photoshop does some other things better, or Krita does one other thing better, or whatever, it's like you're still gonna use that Krita program for doing a lot of aspects of the comic. So I like using each tool for its strength. And then Procreate, I don't know how the fuck to use that. I don't know what I'm doing when I use Procreate. I've never found a way to enjoy Procreate, and I keep coming back to it. I even went back to it with Dreams, and I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I do not get why this is a preferred tool for people. I don't understand it. I think Dreams is great for doing animation. I think it's amazing, but I can't get my mind wrapped around Procreate. I always assume it's like me just getting older, you know? Like it's like the same thing as kids playing full games on tablets and phones, where I'm like, you don't need buttons for the screen. Like, it just seems, you know what I mean? Like one of those things where I've just aged out of it. I'm the wrong time for it. I think the thing is in Procreate's brush engine feels worse than Clip Studio's. I mean, yeah, I think what I have a problem with is Procreate. I mean, it might just be that I have the wrong settings or something, but the brush feels weird to me. But also the screen, it feels like no matter what I'm doing, like everything feels fuzzy. Like no matter what, it feels like a low resolution image to me. If I save it and I go and I look at it in another program, it doesn't look that way. But in Procreate, it looks fuzzy. Like I'm in one of those in-between zooms in like Clip Studio or Photoshop, where it's like blurry. I mean, I don't need to love it. I don't need to use that program. It doesn't matter to me that much. But it is just something that it's one of the only things that I've never really been able to grasp. Procreate Dreams, though, I think is great. If they made a desktop version of that, I'd be so happy. Because I really like doing animation. Yeah, I totally get the idea of Procreate and certain programs being, you know, just somebody else's workflow. But it's the same sort of thing to me as like food or music or whatever. Like, if there's a whole group of people that really love something, I got to give it a shot. I got to see why everybody likes that thing. And it's one of those things that I haven't really been able to grasp as to like, why do people like this so much better? I feel like I need to go like to somebody's house and just watch them use it. I need to go find a person who's very good at it and just watch and be like, what are you doing? Can I use yours and just see if I can do what you're doing right now? And be like, okay, that makes sense. Because I feel like I must be doing something wrong. For my prints, you were wondering how big of a difference there is between the cotton rag and the canvas prints. Good question. I've never actually ordered a canvas print. I really like their basic prints from Imprint. I have a bunch of them from like other artists that I like. They're high enough quality that I don't feel like you really need the canvas print. But if you want the canvas print for the quality, I'm sure it's good because their base prints are really good. But yeah, I don't think you need it. Oh, I know Taryn's work. Amazing. Taryn Fiddler. Yeah. Almost exclusively does buff furry art. For sure. It's amazing though. You know, there's a big divide in the community. Those furry artists need to get more recognition than they get. You need to be getting some big jobs. So many furry artists are so fucking good at anatomy, it's ridiculous. In rendering and things, and I feel like, I hope they're getting paid a lot. Because so many of those artists are phenomenal. And I'm like, you know, I still see a little bit of that stigma. You're waiting for my buff furry era? I mean, if you're looking for it, you're in one. You know, I am in that era right now. You just don't even know. It's all I do. This is the era. Is he wearing Jordans? I don't think so. They're just some random high tops. Did my playlist end? No, it's just a long intro. thought I needed Clip Studio for a second, but I don't think I do. How do you space out time for kids and work? Easy. I'm just kidding. I mean, for me, I just keep a pretty simple schedule. I just work in the, I hang out with the kids for probably like 2 hours in the morning. It's my wife and kids, we hang out, we have breakfast. Kind of just sit for a bit and then get to work and work until lunchtime, and sometimes I'll come out and eat lunch with them. But I mean, other than that, it's mostly just work morning till around 4 and then stop. And if I absolutely have to work later that night, I'll work after they go to sleep, after my kids go to sleep. So when I was having a really tight schedule, I was working about 10 to 4 and then like probably 7:30 to midnight or 1. But that was because I was saving for a house and I don't have to do that anymore. So I'm happy to be settled a bit. Can finally do normal things like watch movies and play video games. I literally did none of that for like 3 years straight. Just pretty much that schedule you just heard nearly every day for 3 years, and it was just a lot. And like other people have it harder. I'm not really complaining. It's just hard, But glad to be through it. It's nice to be on the other side of that. But that was it. That was how I balanced things. Yeah, thank you. Oh, now I remember why I was going to use clip. I was going to tighten up some of the inked areas. That's why I'd opened that in the first place. I mean, it's fine. I don't need to. I don't need to use it. All these long intros to these songs. Would a close and fill tool be any helpful to me with a solid color? I mean, probably if I got used to it, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't feel like this takes me a ton of time, so I don't care that much, but I'm sure it would help. On a podcast from a while ago, you said you wanted to focus on Patreon to make up most of your income. Do you take the industry jobs for the cash / keep the mainstream flow? Patreon is definitely not my number one income. My number one income is just my work. I work a ton. That was probably back when I was like not getting a ton of jobs, but when I really had to crunch to make money for the house, I just went nuts and took on like everything. And I just kept on pushing for that super hard. And that's definitely where like all my money comes from. And then Patreon is good, but it doesn't compare to that. I mean, it's fine. It's not like I have any needs that aren't being met or something. Like I'm totally fine. But it's the opposite. It's just like most everything comes from clients. Maybe so hard to beat like video game work, you know, like video games and like any kind of movie stuff or concept work. It's like, and you get paid a day rate in a lot of cases. I'm sure that if all I did was focus on Patreon and I made it like my number one goal to constantly promote that and build it up and do lives every day and all that, like I could do that, but I really, like, I thought I wouldn't want to do client work going forward. And after doing the Patreon constantly for a couple years, I realized that I wasn't pushing myself in that vacuum enough. And I enjoy art the most when I'm really being challenged. And the number one thing I need to challenge myself is like outside input. I need people to ask me to do things I wouldn't choose to do. And I found that the most helpful thing was just taking on these jobs that asked a lot from me. And I wasn't doing that on my own. So yeah, I really got into it. Just taking on jobs and trying new things and trying to push myself. I just hate the feeling of like plateauing. I want more like high stakes jobs where it's like a big name client that wants to put me on the face of something and then I have to rise to some idea of whatever that thing is and try to match it in quality. Like that's always a really fun challenge. It's really hard to it's really hard to push yourself to do that on your own. At least it is for me. I'm sure some people can do that and just like continually improve without somebody telling them to do something. They'll just kill themselves on a project anyway. But I thought I was that, but I found out that I really need that external pressure to do more. Let's see, do you ever abandon unfinished personal work anymore, or do you always finish the work you start? There's a ton of stuff where I just know that I'm not It's like the only reason I'll abandon it is because I know that I'm not doing it for the right reason, you know? Like I started it just to do it, you know? Like that sort of thing. And then I can recognize that in the work and be like, okay, you're just doing this because you said you would do something, you know? It's like filling a quota or something like that. And that work isn't worth finishing a lot of times because it's just not inspired. I wasn't really trying to do anything special. I wasn't even thinking when I did it. I just started something. So then I won't bother. If it's something like this where it's not going to take like a crazy amount of effort and I can knock it out in like a couple days just kind of having fun, then I don't care. Like I'll spend the time doing something like this in that way, you know, where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm not thinking a ton about it. I'm just kind of doing it. But it doesn't feel like I'm wasting a ton of time. I'm just enjoying myself and relaxing, doing some inks. Does anyone else think that art and pain go hand in hand? I mean, it's not pain for me. It's just that I want to be pushed. I want to really learn. Like I don't enjoy art if I'm just relaxing and not like trying to do something. Like that whole journey of growth is the most important thing for me. Like I don't care so much about the results. I don't want to like reach a point where I'm incredible and just be like, there it is, I did it, I'm done. Like that's not why I'm doing this. I just like the continual moving forward feeling. And if I'm not moving forward, then I'm not doing the right kind of work. Especially if that stuff's like self-directed, you know? Like I need to find another way to make that happen. Saving up for a house was a big part of that. It's like having that goal and just being like, you need to make a bunch of money in this short amount of time so that your kids can enjoy having time outside in a yard and they don't always have to go to a park or something. Like that is enough external pressure for me to really push myself and try and find like my breaking point with taking on work. But it's like that might sound like it's gonna be pain, but that's what I really love. I like that so much. Like I like really pushing. That makes me happy. Like unfortunately that stress is a really good motivator for me. Which might sound super negative, but that's just what it is. I'm gonna hop off here as soon as I'm done with like the color fills and the basic shadows. So probably another, I don't know, 15 minutes or 10 minutes probably. Yeah, if anybody ever wants to see some videos where I talk over what I'm doing and do longer in-depth tutorial type stuff, you can check out the Patreon in the description below. And I'm also doing these streams every week the same time, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in the US. I live in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, this is on a multiply layer. Did I start the line work of this piece offline, or did you stream it to patrons? I started the sketch for this offline, and then I did the basic like line pencil revision over top. I did that during the stream. I mean, I would say I probably worked off stream on this for maybe 15 minutes, but not long at all. I was just trying to get something ready for the stream so that I wasn't being super quiet the whole time. A lot of the thinking happens in that stage, so that's usually when I'm quiet, and it's not a huge chunk of time, but I don't like to do all that during the stream. It's nice if I'm just kind of focused on what I'm doing and not distracted at all. This isn't like a super complex image or anything, but that's usually why I'm not on stream for that bit. Sometimes I record that anyway, and then have that be a part of the process that I put together later. That's what I did a lot before, but on like past tutorial things. I believe I did that with Denji. I think I recorded it before I went live. Can't remember. A magician can't reveal all of his tricks. Yeah, I mean, the trick is mostly just that it's a shitty sketch. Yeah, you saw all the hard work. all the actual stuff you're looking at now happened during the stream, at least. Our 16-year-old dog just figured out that I was in the office working, and she's like, what the fuck, let me in. She's just pacing outside the door right now with her little high-heeled clicking nails. Don't worry, Wiko, almost done. You like the manga more? Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's, generally the case with everything. It's like whatever the original intent was from the singular person is always way more evident in the original. I mean, that's what got the anime made, right? So it's got to be good. I always imagine those artists must feel so much pressure. Like, imagine if you were just making something and you were hoping it would work out, and then it does, and then it becomes a show and you're still working. I mean, I don't know if that's the case with this one, but I know for a lot of them, it's like they're continually working on these comics forever, and you have to like constantly then make the thing because there's a show that depends on it, and multiple people's jobs and everything else. Like, that must be so crazy. Be like, yeah, I used to want to make this comic, now I absolutely have to. Like, so much shit depends on me making this. How far do you usually push a concept before handing it into an art director? I've heard some pros suggest not showing initial exploratory sketches, only final fully rendered illustrations. I don't do that. That's crazy. Depends what the job is. If you're working like day to day on concepts, then I just send loose stuff, like a lot of loose stuff, and I'm not precious about anything. And if I have a really specific idea and I don't feel like I can show it convincingly through a sketch, then I'll do something like that. But generally speaking, I can convey my ideas well enough to not have to worry about it. I get the idea, but don't be so precious about the work. Usually with concept art, you're gonna do iterations of things, regardless. As you understand it, that's how Toriyama felt about Dragon Ball Z, where it was very much just a living, and regular Dragon Ball was the one he actually liked. Yeah. I think when something feels like looser and you're just working on it and it feels like you're the only one involved, that's way more freeing. And then when you feel like everybody's watching you, you really have to not give a shit in order to continue feeling that way, you know? You have to be like, I'm still just doing it for me. And who cares what anybody else says about this? All right, there's that for the stream. I appreciate you all hanging out. Thanks for all the questions and comments and all that. I'm live every Thursday at the same time. The Patreon link is in the description below if you ever want to get any process stuff or anything from me. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, it's locked. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you all next time. Love to you. Have a good night. Good day. Bye-bye.